Hello, everyone. Welcome to day nine of 21 days of live. I am Lauren Lefkowitz. I am an executive leadership coach, and I work with people to escape the trap of being fine, which we all know it's not actually fine, and to build better lives, escape the work, sleep, repeat cycle, and figure out who and how they want to be when they grow up. So I'm super glad to be here today. I am back to streaming through StreamYard for today because I ran into some glitches on the in the LinkedIn-averse, and hopefully we'll be able to work on those. But I wasn't able to invite anybody to my live today at 2:30 Eastern. And normally I invite a bunch of you. So hopefully you don't feel slighted. Hopefully you come and join me. And if you're with me today, let me know in the comments. And we can have like a conversation instead of me just talking at you. So I have been on this quest for 9 days out of 21 so far to go live in every day. And I'm doing it for a couple of reasons. One, it's to build a habit that I haven't been building that I think is important, which is just showing up, just being there for me, being there for you, and really being able to talk about what I'm good at and talk about what I do. Oh, great. We've got Dale here with us. Good afternoon. I'm here for a while, then leaving for a grandson's baseball game. Amazing. Have so much fun. And thanks for coming by. You're always so supportive, Dale. And so I have been talking for the last week plus about everything that is fine in our lives, or some of the things that are not fine that we need to work on. Oh, Nancy, so glad you're here. Didn't realize it was at 2:30. Glad I caught you. Yeah, I just said it at the beginning, and I'll say it again for anybody who's joining. LinkedIn's having some sort of glitch, and it wouldn't let me invite anybody today. So if you didn't get an invitation, it wasn't because I didn't want you to come. It was just because LinkedIn, I have a ticket in, and hopefully they'll help with it. But I unfortunately could not get the invitations going today. So hopefully people will catch it in their notifications that I'm live, or they will see me later and come back with questions if they have them. So anyway, so today I am talking about actually like what being fine means, because I know, because I've lived it. And I also know that before I knew that I was living in this world of like fine, I thought it was fine to live that way and normal. I thought that was how people lived. I thought like you get to a certain age and stage in your life, you get to a certain level of grown upness, and you no longer are, you're no longer like supposed to expect that anything is any better than fine. And oh, Paul, thank you so much. They did announce that I was live. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, usually I can send an invitation in advance. I got that. It's fine. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for throwing a fine in there. But you know, I was living this life, which was a good life. There's nothing wrong with the way I was living. But because I wasn't paying attention to it, I didn't know I wasn't fine. And I didn't know that I wasn't great. I just sort of felt like this is what it's like. And I worked my 80, 100-hour weeks, and I worked through holidays, and I worked through weekends, and I worked a little bit on vacations, and I didn't love any of it, but I didn't hate it for a long time. And so it felt fine. So a lot of people come to me and they'll say like, I work 80 hours a week, but I love it. So like, am I doing it wrong? Am I wrong? Am I happy for the wrong reasons? And my answer is no, absolutely not. You're allowed to enjoy all of the things that make people fine or less than fine. You're allowed to be as happy as you want about anything you want to be happy about. You're allowed to love your job even though you don't love your career. You're allowed to love your career even though you don't love your job. You're allowed to not give a flying F about your career. And you're allowed to feel any kind of way. Here's what I don't want for you. I don't want you to feel like you are like just being brought along for the ride in your life. And that's where most of my clients start, is that they suddenly recognize that they don't want this, whatever this is, they don't want this in 10 years, in 5 years even. That if they look at their life forward from today and they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to feel like they missed out. They're going to start feeling resentful. They're going to start feeling like, hey, that's not fair. My life should have been better or more fun. So what I'm here for on this earth is to take a stand for people and to help people open their eyes and see that they don't have to just settle for what they've gotten, for what they've found along the path, that they can, at any age and stage in their life, that they can decide, I don't want this anymore, I want something else. And that I'm there to support that. And so one of the questions that I get the most is like, how do you know? How do you know that you're not saying you're fine to make yourself feel better, right? Like the pat on the back, the self-soothing, you're going to be fine. It's going to be fine. You're okay, right? How do you know if you're really actually excited about stuff, or if you're feeling like, I'm just saying it's fine because if it's not fine, it'll actually like break me. And I can't break right now. I'm right in the middle of a bunch of stuff. If you've lived that life, I have lived that life. I cannot admit that anything is wrong, because if anything is wrong, everything is wrong. And if everything is wrong, I cannot live that way. A lot of my clients come to me that way, that there's a fear that changing anything will sort of unravel this house of cards that you've built around managing your life, and stepping out into anything else will make it so that like one thing affects the other and affects the next. So how do you know? How do you know that you're living in fine? So I'm going to just tell you some of the ways that people in my community, my clients, come to me, and how I recognize and help them recognize that things aren't actually fine, right? And so we start from this place where, as I said, you self-soothe, you sort of, hand on your heart, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. You're clenching your jaw and saying like, I'm happy. I'm happy that everything is going great. And it's not. But the first sort of sign that everything is not fine is that you actually find yourself saying fine a lot. And fine can be, it's fine, it's okay, I'm getting by, I'm doing all right, I'm surviving, I'm, having the best day ever, in a sarcastic voice. And we've got Scott. Thanks for joining us. I've lived in fine a long time. It was brutal. Yeah, same, Scott. Thanks for sharing that. I love your upside down picture. Yeah, and Scott says it wasn't soothing. It was straight up survival coping. Yeah. So, but that's hard to recognize, right? Like you're in that for a while before you realize it's not okay to be like that. So that's the first sign, is just saying it's fine all the time, right? So your boss comes to you with like another project and you just can't put another thing on your plate, and you say to your boss, oh, I can't, I'm so busy, can't do it. And your boss says, no, you have to find a way to fit it in. And then you say like, okay, it's fine, I'll get it done, right? Or you're getting paid a boatload of money, the most money you've ever made, but the job is terrible. You're not interested in the career. But you're justifying it's fine because they're paying me a lot of money. I'm not going to go anywhere else and make this amount of money, which, by the way, is like a lie we tell ourselves because there's money everywhere. John says I'm fine way too often. Yeah, we do. We convince ourselves that it's fine to be fine, which is like its own little vortex of like, I'm saying I'm fine so that I'll be fine, so that I can say I'm fine, so I'll be fine, right? We also say to ourselves, like, I mean, I asked for this because this is the job I asked for. This is the job I applied for. It's not like I didn't know what I was getting into. I'm an executive, or I'm a manager, or I'm finally managing projects, or I'm finally doing independent work, or I'm finally earning commission. Like, whatever the thing is in your own money story that is like, now I have money, we justify that all the things around it make it so that we get money, and we can't get money any other way. We also say to ourselves, like, I've been doing all of this stuff. I've been saying yes to this stuff. I've been helping other teams with their work. I've been an HR person for X number of years, or a marketing person for X number of years, or in IT for this number of years. I can't change now, right? Like, it's too late. It's never too late. But we feel that it's too late. And I was a 20-year HR veteran, and I felt like it was too late. It wasn't, because look where I am now. And then the last thing that we think that we've got to, like, sort of stay in this fine momentum is, if I pull back on anything in my work life, in my home life, with my friends, with my family, like, people are going to think I'm lazy. They're going to think I'm mean for saying no, or for changing my mind. They're going to think I'm dumb because they'll think I can't do the work. Or they're going to think I don't have enough energy to do the job, which comes a lot with health issues. And Scott, your comment couldn't be more timely. My find was an undiagnosed medical condition and unhealed trauma. Medical doctors helped diagnose me with severe sleep apnea, choking in my sleep, and then therapy. It was such a multi-pronged approach to break through fine. Yeah. I am a person who lives with chronic illness. And I've had a major injury in my adult life as well. And I didn't want anybody to know I was sick. So I doubled down on working hard and people pleasing and helping other teams, because I wanted everybody to know that I was fine. My job was fine. All the work they were asking me to do was fine. All the work I was volunteering for was fine. Arturo says, I'm always happy where I am and doing the best with what I have, because my future is unfolding as I move forward. Arturo, that's amazing, amazing mentality, an amazing way to be, and a really difficult thing to achieve. So congratulations that you can do that. I'm living that life now too. And so are a lot of my clients. And however you find that joy, that happiness, whether it's through a coach, whether it's through your own internal work, however you do it, whether it's with a therapist, whether it's with a supportive partner, we have the opportunity to live in joy and happiness as often as we want. It's not to say that bad things don't happen. Bad things do happen. But we get to decide what's next after that. Thanks for that, Arturo. So I'm going to just give you a few examples of ways that people can tell, ways that you can tell if things don't feel fine anymore in the workplace. And these are just some of the things that I see as I talk to people through my 20-year HR career, through coaching people, while I was in that career, outside of that career, now that I'm in my own business. And here are the things that I hear. Work is all consuming. It's too much. It's too much energy, or too much time, or it's unsatisfying, or it's overwhelming, or I've outgrown it. Like, it's all I think about is that I don't like work, right? We spend at least generally 40 hours a week, many of us more than 40 hours a week, doing this job, whatever this job is. And it is all consuming. That when we're at home, we're thinking about work. We're living in the Sunday scaries on Sunday nights. Sometimes all the way we're living in the Sunday scaries on Friday, because we know we're coming back on Monday and we're not thrilled about it, or we're going to be working all weekend, or we don't have enough to do, so we just dread going in, or we don't have challenging enough work, or it's so challenging that we've got to psych ourselves up and use all of our energy for work. So that's one sign that things are not actually fine, is that work is all consuming. Another way that we sort of come to terms with saying we're fine is a little bit of what I said before. And oh, LinkedIn user, I'm so sorry I don't have your name. There's some sort of permission you have to give to StreamYard to share your name. You just described exactly how I feel about my job. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah. So the next thing is you've come to terms with just like, well, this is how grown-up life is, right? A little bit of like, I asked for this. I wanted this job, this promotion, this raise, this responsibility to manage these people, to manage this project. So like a little bit of like, you take your own medicine, or you make your own bed and you have to lie in it, whatever analogy or metaphor you want to bring into it. But there's a lot of a feeling of like, this is just how it is, right? If I go somewhere else, it could be worse. So if this is better than my imaginary future worst job, I may as well stay here. You show up to work every day, just like you always did, and you put on an external face that's happy and helpful and kind and fun and interactive and team-oriented. But inside, your insides are like, I hate this. You just like, maybe you get stomach aches during the day, or you get acid reflux. And I'm not saying that your physical problems, if you have them, are just a result of stress and disliking your job. But I know from my own experience with a decade of pretty severe chronic illness, that while my chronic illness wasn't caused by my job, the symptoms were certainly exacerbated. That's my personal experience. But you have this feeling of resentment. Every time somebody asks you to do something, you're like, what? What do you want? Why do you need more things from me? Right? Where maybe you used to be like, oh, cool. Jane wants me to help on her team. That's amazing. Oh, Celeste is asking me to pitch in. That's so cool. I'm so flattered. Now you're like, you resent everything. You don't want to look anybody in the eye because you're going to get more work. And you just feel like done and resentful. You may also be in this state of fine if you've gotten the job you wanted, right? You've gotten the job, you've gotten the money, and you aren't giving anything up, right? So sometimes you get promoted internally and they're like, oh, great, congratulations. You're going to get a small raise, a new title, 3 people to report to you, and it's going to be your old job plus some new responsibilities. And you're like, I can't handle all of this. And you say to yourself, it's fine. It's going to be fine. It's absolutely going to be fine. Another thing that happens with this trap of fine is that you look at other job postings and you have convinced yourself that you can't have this job, whatever this job is, whatever the next job is. This is a big one, you guys. This is a big reason why people stay in their jobs, because they think that whatever job they go to next is going to be worse, harder. The manager will be more toxic. It'll be less money, even if it looks like more money. There'll be less time off. There'll be less of this, less of that. And it'll be harder because at least you know this job. At least you know how to do this job. And so you may as well just stay here. And when you convince yourself it's just fine to stay here because you think that going somewhere else means you're going to take a worse job, or that you're going to have to take a step down in order to do anything else, right? So you're a director in a sales position for some sort of software as a service. And now you want to go be a director in a nonprofit, but you think, well, I don't really know nonprofits, so I'm going to have to take a step down so that I can learn nonprofits. And I'm not ready to take a step down. I don't want less money. I don't want less responsibility. I don't want to have to be reporting to somebody who's at the level I am now. So I'm just going to stay here, right? That's fear talking. All of this is fear talking, but that one especially is fear talking. Is I don't want to leave my job because I'm going to have to take something worse. It can't just all be better. And I can tell you this, it can all be better. And I'm not talking about going into your own business like I did. That's not for everybody. That certainly wasn't for 5 years ago me. It wasn't even for 3 years ago me to go out on my own. But when I did my deep exploration into who I wanted to be when I grew up, it turned out that's what I really wanted. For most of my clients, they're not going to entrepreneurial positions. They're going after what they're dreaming. They're going after the pieces of side work that they did in another job, or they're going after, Nancy says it ties into imposter syndrome. Yeah, absolutely, Nancy. It's that feeling of I'm not good enough, big enough, experienced enough to get the big job somewhere else. And so with my clients, we do a lot of work on like what's the actual dream. Let's take out the word but, right? And like let's not decide we can't have something until we actually look at what the something is that you want. And we actually look at what you're good at and what you do lead and what you do manage and what you do initiate or create, right? I'm using all the adjectives, right? From, or the verbs. Using all the good verbs from a resume. But you know, it's learning to take credit for your work, learning how that sits out in the market, and then really working on the internal confidence to stand up and say, I'm great at this, I should be a vice president, or I'm great at this, I should be a director. I'm great at this, I want to run your entire XYZ operation. Because the people who are getting the jobs that you look at and you're like, I'm not good enough, they don't have better experience than you. They have the same experience as you. They just have confidence. And that is the key, is to get yourself into confidence. And I'm not saying that's easy. I'm not saying it's fast. It's why you work with a coach, really, right? It all comes to getting over fears and getting out of your own way and figuring out who you want to be when you grow up and then how to get there. So another reason that we don't look at other jobs, besides that we don't think we can get them, is that all the jobs start to look the same. And this is a great indicator that you need some kind of change. Right. So if you're a marketing generalist and you look at other marketing generalist jobs around the internet, and you see the same job description as basically what you already do, and then your brain is like, well, you're just going to be switching companies. Like if you're going to do the same job, you may as well do the same job. Well, the likelihood is one of two things. One, you're looking too low. You're looking for a lateral job, maybe with more money, maybe at a better company. But if you're doing this job over here, then doing this job over here is like not going to be any more exciting. Or you shouldn't be in that industry anymore. John says 100%. Yeah, thanks. Or you shouldn't be in that industry anymore, or that job, or whatever it is, right? So sometimes if you're a specialist in one area and you really you look across the office and you're like, oh, I love what that guy does. I wish I could be doing what that guy does. Probably you can, especially as you get more and more years of experience, of work experience. The transferability of your skills is very strong. And so if you're looking at other jobs and they look the same and you're like, well, I guess I'm fine here. I may as well just stay here. It's because you're not willing to turn your head a little bit and look at other jobs that might relate to what you do, or the transferable skills might relate to what you do, but you're only looking at the same thing because you have tunnel vision for what you already do. Another reason that you may feel like you're fine is that you've been shot down. So you've talked to your manager, you've talked to HR, you've talked to whoever in your company, you've networked with other departments, and everybody's like, oh, you're really good where you are. We could not lose you in this department. We don't know how we would live without you. We're gonna keep you here, and we're gonna look at raises in like 6 months. So, let's talk then about maybe you can have some more responsibility, but we can't give you up. Right? So what that does to you is two things. One, there's a little bit of flattery that you're a hero. Right? I've been in that position where people say, oh, I don't know what we would do without you. And a part of you is so flattered. And the other part of you is like, well, F this, I don't want to be in this position forever. I don't want to be married to this position. And sometimes that means you do have to leave a company when you get stuck in that position. So part of it is flattery. And the other part is I guess this is the only thing I'm good at. If this is the only thing I'm good at, then maybe I'm lucky I have this job and I should stay here. I should just stick with this. And we lose confidence. I'm zipping through a lot of reasons why we say we're fine and why we act like we're fine and why we settle for fine, because there are so many and they're all related, right? In each one that I described, there's a little bit of the last one. But everybody comes from like a different angle. Another way to start recognizing that you are fine and not fine, right? Is that when people at home or your friends or people you run into from an old job ask you how work is, all you can do is say how much you hate it. All you can do is talk about the things your boss did. You come home at the end of the day to your partner and you slam down your bag or your briefcase. Do we still wear briefcases? Use briefcases? Do we still go to offices? Lots of questions. But you throw everything down and you're like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. It's terrible. And then you spend an hour talking about it. LinkedIn user, sorry, I can't see your name on here, but after months of trying to pivot into another career path, I've started thinking about settling for another job in the same industry I'm in, just because I know I'm in demand in that field and it'll be fine. I mean, you can. And, sometimes the fresh start of going to something else that's the same is enough for you to clear your brain to really dream about what you want to do. And I wonder, are you getting help? Are you getting support? And if so, are you getting support from people who will elevate you, not just people who will commiserate with you or sympathize or empathize with you? Because we do a lot of looking for agreement when we're in fine. And I'm not talking specifically about you, the person who made this comment, but I'm talking about the general you, the me, the us population of people, that we want people to validate that our feelings are correct and also that things can't change. Because if things can change, then we have to work to change them. And that's very hard. And so I would wonder if you're getting the support that you need. And if you're getting support from somebody who sees future you and the possibility of future you, or if they see current you and they're like, yeah, you should get something that's in the same industry. So LinkedIn user, whoever you are, if you want to have a conversation with me about that, please feel free to reach out in the DMs. And I will be happy to touch base with you and have a conversation about all of that. And thank you so much for commenting and for bringing that up, because it's really, really common to get excited about another career path, get excited about something new, do all of the work you think you're supposed to do, redo your resume, have somebody look at it for you, maybe even have somebody write a resume for you. But if you don't feel good about your ability to change careers, your ability to shift into something new, then you're setting yourself up to not get it. And I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm not saying it's your doing, because I know the job market is still very difficult. Especially, I don't know what field you're in, but especially for certain fields like teachers who want to move into corporate, or people who want to move out of recruiting. Recruiting is a very hot job right now, and people who are trying to move out of recruiting are tending to have a challenging time. And I know there are more that I'm not thinking of. So I'm not saying that it is your fault by any means. That said, you got to try something different, because you shouldn't settle for fine. I don't use shoulds and shouldn'ts a lot, but settling for fine is like, it's the dullest way. And it's the way where we will continue looking out at the I could have, I would have kind of stuff. And you deserve more. And that's what I stand for. You deserve more. You deserve better. You deserve a life that you love. John, oh, thanks so much for being here. I need to log off. Great live, and transitioning is horrible right now. Yeah, I know. It's a really tough market. So getting the support that that will elevate you and not just sustain you on that fine line is really important. The last thing that I want to say is, you may feel like you're fine if you're in burnout. And burnout is hard to recognize, because we've had a really crazy couple of years. There have been layoffs, a pandemic, unrest, DEI initiative issues, all kinds of racial and political unrest. And we've all been working really hard despite that. And if you're in burnout, it's hard to recognize you're in it. But if you're in burnout, your body and your brain are tired. Your body and your brain make you feel like you have to be stuck here. And your body and your brain are telling you to keep going in the same direction over and over. And it's like one of those old video games. I don't play new video games because I'm like a child of the 80s. I played the video games that were real, early Super Mario Brothers like. But I remember in Super Mario Brothers, in the very first edition of it, the very first Nintendo, that you had to pull the cartridge out and blow on it to make sure you got the dust out so you could make it work. There were jumps like onto bricks. And if you just ran and you didn't jump, the little Mario would be at the brick and still running his little feet, just running, right? He'd have to back up and jump, whatever. But this is what burnout is that you're running at a wall and your feet are moving, but you are at a wall. And if you are in burnout, it's a dangerous place to be. I've been there. My clients have been there. My friends have been there. It's a dangerous place to be because the longer you're in burnout, the longer it takes to get out of. And one of the things we do when we start hitting burnout is that we try to convince ourselves that everything is fine. And so if any of the things I've talked about today and any of the things that are related to any of the things I've talked about today, great analogy, thank you. If any of the things I've talked to you about today resonate, I plead you to take care of yourself and to find your version of better because it's worth it. It's worth your time. It's worth your energy. It's worth your money to take care of yourself and deliberately plan your future. And I can't tell you what to do exactly because everybody's situation is different, but I can tell you this. You have to find a way, if you're watching this and you're resonating with any of the ways that FINE exists, you have to find a way to see better for yourself. You don't have to know what it is. You just have to find a way to see that the tiniest inkling that it could be better. And is there time involved and energy involved and money involved in getting coached or therapy or hiring a resume writer or a job search consultant? Yep. There is. You're investing in yourself. You're investing your time, your energy, and your money. The alternative is you stay where you are. And in 10 years, you look back at today or this year and you say, ugh, I guess it's fine. And that's not what I want for you. I want better for you. I want better for each and every one of you. So I'm going to sign off for the day. I'll come back at you tomorrow. Still working on my topic for tomorrow. So I have a couple of choices, but if there's something in particular that resonates with you that you want to hear from me, let me know in the comments or shoot me a DM, and I'm happy to talk about just about any topic related to work or career or work and life or saying no or boundaries or, any of that stuff. And I'm so glad to be with you. Thank you so much for coming. Hopefully the LinkedIn invitations will be working again tomorrow and I'll be able to start inviting people again. But for those of you who were able to catch a notification that I was live, thank you so much for coming. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Nancy, thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Take care, everybody.